even before Jesus was sent to come down here and redeem men, it wasn't Jesus who was sent first. It was the devil. Do you know that the devil was right on the heart of God before? Remember, I taught about the pre-Adamic race, the world that existed before Genesis chapter 1. I talked about that. And I said there were people, I don't want really to call them people like us. I don't know whether they were like us. But there was a race that lived before Adam. The same mission that was given to Jesus, it was first of all given to Lucifer, to come down here and to demonstrate the love of the Father to the creation. And he rebelled against the Creator and caused the entire creation to rise up against its own Creator. And God said, Lucifer and all the people that are under you, I will destroy you. And God sent a flood. And the flood was there for thousands and even millions of years before God said, let the waters open up and let the dry land appear. It was a flood that Jesus was addressing. It was a flood that had destroyed the former creation. Now, listen to this now. So Lucifer, he was not sent by God to die for the people. Not necessarily like Jesus, no. Because before then, really, there was no sin. So there was no need for people to die. For the wages of sin is death. So there were people present, but all that they needed was not a cross. All that they needed was somebody who could represent God down here. That was his duty. Lucifer was supposed to come down here and represent God properly. And he rebelled against God. And not just angels joined him. No, even the other creation supported him. They wanted to have him as their own God because he was so in touch with people. So he's saying, no. You guys, you're talking about serving another God, praying to another God. And yet I'm here every time with you, suffering together with you. Have you ever seen this God even once coming down here to visit you? He started mobilizing people and he got the support that we can have you as our God. And he knew that they were going to support him. So, when his plan failed and God destroyed even his supporters and even his constituents, he knew that he was never going to get into power. He knew that. So when God flooded the earth and killed everything, and he waited for thousands and millions of years before he could start creating another race. When Lucifer looked at God and God was creating another race, he knew that this race is going to be in need of another Messiah. And this time it is never going to be me. He's going to send another one. And this one that is coming now is more loyal than myself. And I will have to tempt him so that he falls like I've fallen. The devil knew that Jesus was on his way coming. That's why every time when a child was born in the old times, during the time of Moses, children were killed. All the male children were killed because Lucifer already, the spirit was already looking, they thought it wasn't Moses, they thought it was Jesus. The devil never knew that it was Moses that was going to be born. He thought it was going to be Jesus that was supposed to be born to deliver the people of Israel from Egypt to the promised land. He thought it was going to be Jesus. That's why he started from there killing all the male children. Even when Jesus was born, the male children were killed. He's trying to kill the seed of the woman. So Lucifer knew that somebody was coming to replace him and to fulfill the heart of the Father. So he was ready for the coming of Jesus. But before Jesus could come, Lucifer was so smart, he wanted to have his own seed multiplied before the seed of the woman. So chapter 6 of the book of Genesis, now we see angels coming down, and they were deceived by the devil to begin to sleep with women. And giants were born, the Nephilims. Now, so that I don't keep you in a state of confusion for a very long time, let me tell you where the demons are coming from. Then I'll explain how it happened later, because I can see some of you are just, so that it will make sense. Look at this. The flood of Noah, it was the second flood where God destroyed not everything. The first flood in the book of Genesis chapter 1 that you see there, it was a flood that killed the pre-Adamic race and all the creation, including the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs that you see now, of course you might come across some bones that are not real here and there and so on, but they are real bones of real dinosaurs. Those creatures lived and never during the time of Noah. They wouldn't even fit into the ark. They lived way before Noah, and they were destroyed by the first flood, which is in the book of Genesis chapter number 1. And the flood of Noah was the second one. And that second one, it was mainly because man had corrupted himself. There was another breed, another species, another kind of people that were now born called the Nephilims, which God was trying to get rid of. It was not really because people were drinking beer. I'll talk about that. God wanted to get rid of the serpent seed. And when it rained and it poured and people died, the Nephilims also died. And when they died, listen to me now. Listen to me. I said I want to just clear all this confusion that we might be having. When the giants died, the spirits that came out of the giants, of the Nephilims, are the demons. Now, please follow this. Please follow this. I will try to do some calculations and show you how many were there by the time of the flood. There were millions and even billions of them that were already born because of the rate at which these things were being born. It was amazing. And when a Nephilim dies, his spirit does not go back to God because it was never from God. This is the only creature whose spirit was not put there by God. It's a product of angels and men. And when they die, their spirits will become hovering spirits, tormenting spirits. I will give you places where you can find all that. I will give you a place where you can find it. I will give you a place where you can read it for yourself. Okay. So when the Nephilims died, it was only their physical bodies that died, but the spirit that was causing them to be bully and to be stubborn and to be violent lived even after the flood. And I will show you again where the Nephilims are coming from even after the flood, where we have all these Goliath and all the Canaanites. I will show you where they are coming from after the flood. So when a Nephilim dies and his body is decomposing, the spirit comes out of that physical body. And a person can be possessed by a Nephilim spirit. Because they were too big, very gigantic, very, very, very strong. That's why sometimes you can find one person. For you to get rid of a person now, if a demon comes out, it calls for 20 ushers and 5 security officers to make that person to sit down. It's a Nephilim spirit, it's a spirit of a giant. Can you imagine? Please sit down. Let me give you something that you know. Do you know that a man with a legion of demons, the Bible clearly says that at some point they tried to use chains to bind him. And yet he would break those chains. How is that possible? You are dealing with a giant. You are dealing with a giant. That spirit was once in a physical body. And after that physical body died, from that very moment, it started looking for another physical body, which is small though. But it can enter into you and cause you to do some extraordinary things that Nephilim would have done if it was still alive. So I will give you the characteristics of those giants, of the Nephilims, and you'll begin to see that this is why I'm having a problem in this area. You will begin to understand. So it's an ancient evil spirit, demons that were there a long time ago. It can enter into a person now, and that person, as young as this, he will begin to tell you ancient stories, ancient secrets. Where there was a river 20,000 years ago, there was a river here. My God. Where were you? It's not really prophetic. I'm talking about another spirit. Okay. I'm still at a point where I'm trying to prove to you that spirits can multiply. Remember that time when Jacob went to Laban, his father-in-law. And there came a time when Jacob was now supposed to work for his own inheritance, physical possessions. He said, it's now time for me to also have my own properties. Let me work towards that. And every time his father-in-law was changing his wages, every time, until he got a plan. And what he did was physical, which had spiritual implications. He took some sticks and uncovered the inner parts of the stick. So he took a stick, he began to open up spaces, because what he needed was something that was spotted. Because they had entered into an agreement with Laban that anything that is born and it is spotted, it belongs to me. And Laban looked around and there was nothing spotted. And he said, you can take it. And it was after that agreement. And then Jacob said, let me work it out. Because miracles, they don't just happen, they are worked out. So he said, let me work it out.